thank you for being here. I know you've been sitting all day, and I wish we could play some games and move around more, but you're welcome to stand up during the film and stretch if you like. I am so delighted to be here today and to present my labor of love, my work with the wolves, to you. I've been at this since I was a little girl, and you'll see it in the film because I put my story in there. And rather than using all these words and explaining things, I would like to start by reading a poem to you that I wrote during a meteor shower in Montana in the winter, December 2015, I think it was. So I feel like this probably gives you the best view of what I'm all about and what I'm doing here. Welcome. Oh, there's a few more people coming, so let's wait a minute. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, we have the Perseid meteor shower going on right now, and I know it's probably very cloudy, but we're having like up to 200 meteors an hour. And I saw them on the train coming here. I stuck my head between the window and the curtain and looked out, and it was amazing because I'd never watched meteors while I was moving. I was always stationary. So the meteors were moving and I was moving 80 miles an hour. It was really cool. So, yeah, not yet. I'm gonna read something first and talk a little bit and then we'll watch it. Okay? Thank you. Okay. So I said I would be starting with a poem so you would be able to feel my heart and know what I'm all about and why I'm doing this. And the poem is called Starstruck. All night I've been waiting, watching, bending backwards to soak in the dark sky, scanning it for meteors' flaming trail. It comes through the heavens, clothed in black, above my head, in front of me, surrounding me from all possible directions, to greet that part of me that has never let go of awe, no matter what. The first one peeked shyly right near my heart. Had I blinked, I would have missed it. When a star bows down to love in the middle of the dark of night, does anybody really see its offering? Another one. To my left, to my right, then the one I had never seen before in all my years of life lived fully. It waits until I cock my head in just the right angle to show me its immortal glory while dying of love. It let go of everything, no holds barred, in one fell swoop, arching its broad band of white light, of eternal flame. It surrenders to eternity, explodes in a green flash, keeps going, 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 until it is no more than a speck in the dark, all the while combusting back into the ancient stardust from whence we all come. Owls cry, echoes from the lake, when I bundle up again after a few hours of dreamy sleep. Night sky has called me longingly back outside. She beckons me to witness more of her rapturous beauty. Starlight, she confides in me, comes to those who do not close their eyes for too long. My beauty sleep turns into true beauty awakening. While I watch 3 layers deep in clothing, 2 hats and a hood piled high, ice cleats on the soles of my shoes, it finally dawns on me. I am moving beyond being the mere spectator of life. I am being that shooting star, incarnating it through my own body, experiencing it as I. This spirit Elke has witnessed your showering us with heavenly meteor love from the vantage points of the back of a flatbed truck, in the grass, sand dunes, from the cleansing point of a hot spring. Yet never before have I been touched so deeply in that place which had been hidden from your beckoning. Only a being who's unconditionally open to what arises naturally has surrendered to the will of the one cosmic life force. May I take in your gifts fully, beloved? Shivering, I do not know if it comes from the cold or the awe, or from the flow of life itself. I go inside to warm up with a cup of tea, just long enough to be completely clear before I step back out to praise you again. Is not having tea with you a time of praise also? Is all of life, when lived fully awake, not a constant, deep, all-encompassing opportunity to praise you? Fox is barking a greeting at me. Deer is gingerly stepping across icy surfaces. Beaver diligently is stripping bark. I sense wolf in the distance, birthing with me. The constellations have shifted, moved on to show their guiding light to those of us in another hemisphere, far away and yet so close. Two planets stand high in the sky, shimmering a bluish hue. Glowing seems to be what we do when we are filled to the brim with the beloved. It is colder now, the stillness more intense, like the fully awakened love receptivity in my heart. You can have me, I am yours. Take me, your humble servant, to be of service to the greater whole. I am that already and more, a conduit of your holiness, a sacred receptacle in your essence. In the midst of all this, my heart can't stop singing. It joins in the eternal hum of the universe. Who could have asked for more? Thank you. So, I'm so glad you're all here, and I thank you for coming. And we're gonna see the film in a few minutes, and we'll have some time afterwards to ask some questions. But what I'm really all about is the coexistence with each other. I've seen this my whole life. You know, we live in such a human-centric way, and we take out what we don't like, and we foster and alter what we do like and think we need. And so it's always so binary, weed or vegetable, wolf or cow, bear or dog, you know, so somebody always has to pay for our lives, and we forget that we are all part of a greater whole, and that we are not alone here, and that we can only exist together, and that everybody has their place on this earth, and everybody is important. You know, I'm always getting accused of favoring large charismatic predators like the wolf, but it's not true. I love all animals. And can you imagine what would happen without bees and pollinators? There would be no food, right? It's just that I started with the wolf because I feel like when the wolf comes back, everything else comes back. And it's explained in the film, and you will see. But I just thought I have to start somewhere. And since then I released this film in 2011. And since then I've been working on a documentary about our last wild bison on this earth. And so that's going to come out in November. It's going to be premiered in Albuquerque on 13th of November. And so I read that's another animal that when the bison come back, the prairie comes back. Because the prairie is lonely without the bison. And the forest is lonely without the wolves. And I was lonely as a child. And I was telling this gentleman also earlier, and this lady, that the reason I came to this country from Germany 29 years ago was not economics. I didn't want to get rich. Was not love because I had met an American GI. It was love because I love life. But it wasn't the reasons that people usually have for coming here. I had told my parents ever since I was little that I would be leaving to live, when I was old enough, to live somewhere where there were still wild animals and wilderness. Because we are so privileged here to still have a pretty intact ecosystem. But where I came from, it was all gone. It was all cultural landscape, and it instilled this really deep sense of loneliness in me. Something was always missing. And I would tell my mother in the summer, I would say, Mom, it's summer, we have to go. And she said, we lived on a farm, and she said, where will we go? And I said, to follow the bison. And she's like, what? What are you talking about? And I said, not the ones in the zoo, the big herds. So somehow I was born with the ancient memory of the big herds, and that's all I ever wanted. That's what I wanted for Christmas. I didn't want another doll. I didn't want Legos because it was plastic and I'd rather play outside. No, I always wrote these elaborate letters. Please take all the plastic stuff, and maybe my brother will throw in his gifts and give them to somebody who really wants them. But I want to spend time with the reindeer and the bison. It never happened. It happened when I was 45 years old, and I was backpacking alone in Yellowstone National Park. And I had all my equipment in the back, and I was all ready to go. And this big bison bull stood broadside on my trail. And I said to him, and I've always communicated with the animals, non-verbally and in all kinds of ways. I said to him, I can go anywhere. I can go in a plane, I can go in a mall, I can go anywhere, right? I can travel in a car, I can live anywhere, but you have been relegated to this last sliver of your former habitat. And I will yield to you, and I will wait till you're done, and then I will proceed. But he communicated to me to stay. So I stayed, and after a while, it was really heavy, so I took my backpack off and I sat down on a rock. And he still communicated to me to stay, to not move. So I stayed and I waited, and we looked at each other and kept communicating, and before I knew it, all these bison came over the hill. I counted like 423. And then I stopped counting. I don't know if there were any more, there probably were. But it doesn't matter because they're not numbers, but it was a large herd. And I was really touched because I was in the middle. I found myself in the middle of this bison herd, and it was summer. So the males were with the family, and there were mothers with calves. There were the fathers, there were the grandmothers, and they were all communicating with each other in family groups in a snorting kind of way. I can make it right now. I'm too excited. But anyways, they snort to each other. Like this. Stay here. Go there. Where are you? So anyways, I could hear them talk to each other. And it was a very beautiful scene. And I took it all in, and they didn't take any offense to me being there. And I took it all in, and all of a sudden I realized that was my childhood dream. It has taken 40 years. And I started crying. And I said, I don't have any more Barbie dolls or Legos. I could make a documentary and tell you a story. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And what they were telling me was, they said, this is the largest herd that anybody will see anymore. But once there were millions of us. And all you had to do, one sea of swaying black bodies all over the prairie. And all you had to do is put your ear on the ground. And you could hear us from 100 miles away. Because there were so many of us. And they were really conveying to me how important it was that we would still have them. For the native people, because the culture and the life is so tied to them. But not only here. I wouldn't be here either without the bison. My ancestors depended on them in Europe. We had them in large herds in Europe until the 1500s. And we even had a herd of 700 that was wandering around Poland and Germany at the border. But during World War I, the armies killed them, I think for food, but also because at night it was disconcerting to have a large herd of these animals. They never knew if it was the enemy or, so, or what it was. So then we only had 50 left. Yeah. And when you look at cave paintings of bison in Europe, they're 17,000 to 40,000 years old. And they didn't depict their food. No, this was a beloved. They were an equal. And that was different from how we are living now. Now we are living on top of a pyramid. But back then it was a circle. So I've dedicated my life as a bridge maker between the wild and the current state of humanity that we're in right now, so that we can go back to the circle of life and let go of that pyramid that never worked anyways. And so that is my work, that is what my work is all about. And I'm going to show stories of wolves. The lobo returns, and lobo is the word for wolf in Spanish. And the lobo is the Mexican gray wolf, the most endangered one that we have in all of North America. There's only about, less than 100 left in the wild. We have the timber wolves, the Arctic wolves, the wolves of the northern Rockies. Those are still in viable populations, but the Mexican gray wolf is the most endangered one. And so when I lived in New Mexico, I spent every moment I had to go back down to the Gila in New Mexico and in Arizona, and to tell the wolf story and to see how can we coexist and how can I bring this message of coexistence to the people. Because, as I also said earlier, it is really lonely without the animals. I know because I grew up without them. There were plaques all over Germany when we walked in the forest. Last wolf killed here, 1752. Last wolf killed here, 1812. I guess if people were very proud of that feat, right? So that's how I grew up, and the only wild animal we had was some wild boars, but they had eaten a lot of those during World War II too, as well, and they were just on the rebound. And we had some foxes, but there could have been a slight chance of them carrying rabies. So in a preemptive strike, they were trying to annihilate them all. And they tried to gas them and poison them and trap them and shoot them. And they did. But what happened was so amazing. Life always wants to keep on living. We don't have to spend millions to reintroduce a species. We just have to stop killing them and scooping them in to their rightful place with us on this planet again. That's all we have to do. Because these foxes, the next year, the females didn't have just 3 to 4 pups. They had 10 to 12. And when they had 12, 10 of them would be female. So within 2 to 3 years, their population was back up. Yeah? And same with coyotes. The more we kill, the more come back. Because under stress, they intrinsically know that their brothers and sisters are being killed, and that it's up to them to carry on the lineage. And we say the same thing, like I'm the last one, I need to carry on my lineage, right? Same with the animals. That's why it never works to annihilate coyotes. You'll have many more the next year because you're creating a vacuum, prime real estate, and then everybody moves in. So anyways, there's many things I would like to share with you, but the film is like an hour and I don't want to keep you too long. But what we can do is, after the film, whoever wants to stay, I'd be happy to answer some questions and talk to you some more, but at the moment I am migrating between Montana and New Mexico. I'm going to the schools and larger communities. I talk to the hunters and I share what I know. And my newest thing is to talk about the sacred hunt. The sacred hunt of working with the animal on who it is that's going to give their life to us. I'm going to tell you one more little story, and then we can watch the film. So I was invited by the Crow people to film a bison hunt, and we wanted to hunt 4 2 to 3 year old males for their Sundance, and they wanted to feed all the people. It was all going to a food bank as an offering for the Sundance. So they did a ceremony the night before and called in the bison and told them what they were going to do, and were asking for 4 males to come forward and give their lives. So we went there, and they still have some wild bison on their reservation. And when we came, I kid not, the whole herd was there waiting for us, right? They moved around a little bit, and they faced us, and off the big herd broke off a family unit and came closer to us, and of that family unit, the 4 males came forward to give their lives to us. Because they didn't want to shoot any females in October because they're pregnant. And the big males they don't do trophy hunting. It's not an honor to shoot a big bison because it's like shooting a train car. Like they're so big, you can't miss them. So there's really not like the bigger the animal, the more honor. No, it was different. It was this relationship. They gave themselves to us. They got killed, and then their families came and said goodbye to them. The other bison came and tried to nudge them back up, and when they saw that they couldn't go back up, they said goodbye to them. We waited till they were done. They circled around a few times, and then they joined the big herd and they all left. And then we fed the earth. They took out the heart, and they were giving the heart and the blood of the animals to the earth. And they were feeding all the other animals first, and then they were feeding the people in need, and the hunters only got 1 meal from that. So it got distributed in the way it's meant to be. The ones that needed it most, and in honor of the earth. So there is a different way we can live with the animals. It doesn't mean we don't have to ever kill an animal or hunt an animal. No, it's just how we do it. It's the intention that we have. And if we work with the animal, or if we just take, if we let them decide who's going to go. And that's what happened. And I think this is how it's intended to be. And for me, that was the most amazing experience, because I've grown up with this European trophy hunting thing that comes from royalty, right? Everybody wanted to be like royalty and kill large animals and have them around. But there's no other purpose, really. And in nature, I always say, this animal should be hanging on a wall. This animal should be procreating, the biggest one. And what wolves do is they kick out the old, sick, and weak ones of a herd of deer or elk. And it's a beautiful symbiotic relationship between the two of us. Well, as if I'm a wolf, but Grandpa always said I'm a wolf. Anyways, between the two, the wolf and the predator, the prey animals. So it's a beautiful relationship because the deer feeds the wolves, and the wolf keeps the deer strong and healthy. And as I was editing this documentary about wolves, one night I was up all night because I was teaching at that time. I only had 2 months, June and July, and I had to do it all. And so I worked through the night, and I had all the doors and windows open in Albuquerque, and I had a visitation from Deer Spirit. And it was the dear elders that came to me that night and stopped me and said, listen to us, we wanted to thank you for doing this film. And I said, I understand and you're very, very welcome, but how would I tell this to Western people? And they said, it's very easy. Just tell them that we are the dear elders and we do not like what's becoming of our young. They're becoming like really sick and weak. They get run over by cars when they cross a road. They're not even fast enough to cross a road. And they're geranium eaters. It's kind of like being on welfare. They said, so tell them that. They will understand that analogy. So tell them that we want the wolves back because they will keep our youth strong and healthy. And people will understand that because it's not like we fear them. No, we welcome them because they keep us running and strong. And when they're around, they're surely no geranium eaters. It's true. So that's another thing. The wolves take out the old, sick, and weak ones, and we take out the strongest ones that really should be breeding. So we are making the herds weaker and sicker, and the wolves are keeping them strong and healthy.